Recently, footage of strange pyramid-shaped objects was released following a classified meeting on Capitol Hill about the UAP issue. Some are saying that this is the best UFO footage ever shot. Maybe it is. But in a recent press release, former Navy physicist and UFO researcher Dr. Bruce Maccabee reminded us of an incredible and well-documented series of sightings back in 1978 in New Zealand that bear eerie similarities to today's strange UFO videos. Following a series of sightings, a TV crew accompanied a flight on its normal route. They were rewarded not only by video of the supposed objects, but also by confirmed radar hits and anomalies as the objects came closer to the plane. Check out this clip.
It was just before midnight on December the 30th, 1978, that this Argosy aircraft took off in New Zealand on a newspaper delivery run. It followed the route taken 10 days earlier by a plane which had reported weird flying objects off the Kaikoura coast, objects confirmed by radar controllers in Wellington. Now a TV crew was on board with Australian reporter Quentin Fogarty.
We're now approaching the Clarence River, where the highest concentration of UFOs was sighted on the morning of December the 21st. We're at an altitude of 14,000 feet, and we're on exactly the same route taken by Captain Bell when he encountered those mysterious objects. It's a beautiful, clear night outside, and naturally we'll be looking out for anything unusual.
Hardly had Fogarty spoken when things began to happen.
We've just heard from Wellington radar that we've got an object about a mile behind us and it's following us. Let's hope they're friendly. It's really getting a bit frightening up here. There's a whole formation of unidentified flying objects behind us.
But there were closer encounters to come. On the return journey from Christchurch, Fogarty spotted another object.
It's extremely bright, much brighter than any of the other stars in the sky. Now it's just dimmed, it's gone. It's back again, it appears to be going behind cloud. I can't quite make out whether it in fact is going behind cloud or whether in fact the light is just dimming. No, it's such a bright light, it's lighting up the clouds around it. This is by far the best of the unidentified flying objects we've seen so far. According to our cameraman, David Crockett, who's been filming it for the past few moments, it appears to have a brightly lit bottom and a transparent sort of sphere on top, so it appears to be, well, like a flying saucer. We've got another one right in front of us, very bright, giving off an orange flashing light. It looks like an aircraft beacon. It seems to be rolling and turning. Oh, I don't know. I really don't know what's going on.
After the plane landed at Blenheim, the investigation began. Skeptics suggested they'd seen the planet Venus, but most of the film was taken more than half an hour before Venus could have been visible. An American Navy physicist, Dr. Bruce Maccabee, analyzed the film and rejected theories that it showed meteors or ships or birds. Several of the objects had shown up on radar screens. One of them had left this extraordinary trail on a single frame of film. And although the start of this sequence is out of focus, some frames seem to show what the TV crew and pilots said they'd seen. A luminous base with a transparent top. Dr. Maccabee's conclusion, no known explanation could account for all the facts.
Famous UFO researcher Dr. Bruce Maccabee, a Navy optical physicist and one of the very first modern UFO investigators, worked on this case with J. Allen Hynek, formerly of Project Blue Book. I spoke to Bruce about this incident and his latest press release, in which he also states that the Pentagon and the Defense Department may finally be ready to admit to the public the very real possibility that a non-human intelligence is behind the 1978 sightings and the modern sightings that are all over the media as we speak. So you just put out a press release where you're talking about an event that happened in 1978, where a news crew actually, after a rash of UFO sightings off the coast of New Zealand, got on the plane and got what is arguably some of the most compelling UFO footage of the day. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
This is the formerly famous New Zealand sightings of December 31st, 1978, which I now consider to be the gold standard for civilian sightings. You have a tape recording made at the Wellington Air Traffic Control Center, the radar tape, and you have a tape recording made by one of the reporters who was on board the plane. So you've got tape recordings made on site at the time of the sighting. You have professional witnesses, you have radar, and you have color movie film. All this works into a very interesting series of sightings of strange objects and bright lights.
We're talking about objects that were tracked on radar, seen visually from the ground and from the plane, filmed by a news crew. They came into proximity with the airplane, and the combined radar target got bigger, and then displayed flight characteristics that are in alignment with the kind of thing that we're seeing now in some of these military tapes.
As I said, I'm not sure, I'm not aware of any other civilian sighting which has this much data.
The other half of your press release, it describes, it recaps the 1978 event, and then you go on to predict that when we get our information in June from the military's report to Congress, that you think that they're going to admit that they suspect a non-human intelligence operating the craft in the current videos?
They may simply say, we don't know what it is, and admit that it's there, but the mere fact that there's an admission that there's something there is a big switch from even just a few years ago, to say nothing of 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years ago, as this whole system developed. So we have a situation where they might conclude, and why not? I mean, based on all the data we have, it's easy to conclude that there's something going on. And the tough part is to be able to explain away everything. That's the real job. I expect that they will come to a conclusion that NHI is involved. But whether they will tell us the nature of this or not, I don't know.
There's been a lot of attention brought to this current set of circumstances. Some video surfaces. The government loosely admits that the video is genuine, although the video we've seen is inconclusive. I know that there's more that we haven't seen, but we don't know what it shows. And now it's going in front of some members of Congress that are going to be absorbing this information, both behind closed doors and in public. And it just seems like a lot more of the same. We already had documents that surfaced with the government acknowledging UFOs. You've written your book about the FBI, the CIA, and UFOs, and documented a lot of back and forth and a lot of material. And we've already had the Robertson panel and other congressional participation. And it just seems like what we're getting now is, in a lot of ways, it's just more of the same. It's almost recycled. We've got this mysterious video. Now we've got the government's going to admit something, but we don't know what they're going to admit. And opinions vary. Do you see history repeating itself?
The general type of information presentation is already in the reports of the Kenneth Arnold sighting, June 24th, 1947. The Army Air Force claimed it was not theirs, about not seeing wings, not seeing engines or any propulsion, any method of propulsion, and I don't know, the shape of the object. They're so far away that he couldn't see the exact shape, and all sorts of questions like that.
There's been this history of obviously denying this whole thing. There's been this history of the government taking no official stance when we know that they're investigating it. Now all of a sudden they're admitting stuff, and we may even get close to the admission of the potential for non-human intelligence interacting with the human race. What is different now than then that is making them realize they have to start getting the information out?
Well, they may have put their foot into the water too far.
What we learned from this is that craft of similar capability have been operating and being observed for many years. The new videos show more of the same. Bruce Maccabee is optimistic that we may finally get a story that is closer to the truth about what these craft are and who is operating them. I hope so. Dr. Maccabee has written 4 books on the topic. They're still very relevant today and great reads if you want to catch up on the history of the subject.